The social worker's pen hovered over the final adoption papers as tears streamed down Marcus Bennett's face. "Please," he whispered, his voice breaking. "She's all I have left." Across the table, Elise Harrington, the cold-eyed CEO who controlled his fate, leaned forward with an unexpected vulnerability in her gaze. "I understand more than you know," she confessed. "Without a child, I lose everything too." If you're enjoying this story, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more emotional family dramas that explore the unexpected connections between people from different worlds. Marcus Bennett stared at the ceiling of his modest apartment, listening to the gentle breathing of his 5-year-old daughter, Lily, in the next room. The digital clock on his nightstand glowed 3:17 a.m., but sleep remained elusive. In just a few hours, he would face the most important meeting of his life, one that could either secure Lily's future or tear his makeshift family apart forever. 3 years ago, Marcus had become an unexpected father when his sister Sophia died in childbirth, leaving behind her newborn daughter. The father was long gone, having disappeared when Sophia announced her pregnancy. With no other family to step in, Marcus had taken custody of his niece without hesitation, despite having no experience with children and working 2 jobs to make ends meet. He'd learned to be a parent through trial and error, through sleepless nights and first fevers, through tiny victories and heartbreaking moments when Lily would ask about her mother. He'd built his entire life around this little girl who called him Daddy, and didn't yet understand that he was actually her uncle. In his heart, though, he was her father in every way that mattered. But now, everything hung in the balance. The final adoption hearing was scheduled for next week, and there was one last hurdle. The home study evaluation from Harrington Family Services, the prestigious private agency that had been assigned to his case after the public system became overwhelmed with backlog. Marcus had met with several social workers over the past months, but tomorrow he would face Elise Harrington herself, the notoriously demanding CEO who personally reviewed high-risk cases. And his was flagged as high-risk because of his financial situation and lack of blood relation to Lily. The rumors about Elise Harrington painted a picture of a ruthless businesswoman who had built her agency from nothing into the most respected family services organization in the state. She was known for her exacting standards and uncompromising approach to child welfare. Some said she had never approved a single-parent adoption in her 15 years running the agency. Marcus finally drifted into a fitful sleep, dreaming of empty rooms and Lily's voice calling for him from somewhere he couldn't reach. Morning came too quickly. Marcus prepared Lily's favorite breakfast, heart-shaped pancakes with strawberries, and helped her choose a pretty dress for preschool. As he braided her dark hair, so much like his sister's, he tried to keep his anxiety from showing. "Are you sad, Daddy?" Lily asked, turning her big brown eyes up to his face. Marcus forced a smile. "No, sweetheart. Just thinking about some grown-up stuff." "Is it about the lady who's coming to see us?" "Miss Carla said she's coming to make sure I have a good home." Marcus's hands stilled in her hair. Miss Carla was Lily's preschool teacher, who knew about their situation. "Yes, but you don't need to worry about that. You just have fun at school today, okay?" After dropping Lily off, Marcus rushed to his apartment to clean it one last time before heading to his morning shift at the coffee shop. His boss had generously allowed him to work a half-day so he could prepare for the afternoon meeting. His second job as a night security guard at a local office building gave him the flexibility to be with Lily during most evenings, but the combined income was still barely enough to cover their expenses. The apartment wasn't much. A small 2-bedroom in a decent neighborhood with a tiny balcony where he and Lily grew herbs and flowers in colorful pots. He'd painted her room himself, a soft yellow with cloud details on the ceiling. Books filled the shelves he'd built, and photographs of Sophia smiled down from the walls so Lily would always know her mother's face. It wasn't luxurious, but it was clean, safe, and filled with love. He hoped that would be enough. At precisely 3 p.m., there was a sharp knock at the door. Marcus wiped his sweaty palms on his best pair of jeans and opened it to find a striking woman in her early 40s standing in the hallway. Elise Harrington was tall and elegant in a tailored charcoal suit, her auburn hair pulled back in a severe bun. Her green eyes assessed him coolly. "Mr. Bennett? I'm Elise Harrington." Her voice was crisp and professional as she extended her hand. "Please, come in," Marcus said, shaking her hand and stepping aside. "And it's Marcus." She entered the apartment, her gaze sweeping over everything with clinical precision. "I understand you'll be picking up Lily from preschool at 4:30. That gives us time to discuss your situation before meeting her." Marcus nodded, gesturing toward the small dining table where he'd prepared coffee and a folder containing all his documentation, financial records, Lily's medical history, his work schedules, and the letters of recommendation he'd collected from Lily's pediatrician, his employers, and neighbors. Elise sat down and opened her leather portfolio. "I've reviewed your file extensively, Mr. Bennett. There are several concerns I'd like to address." For the next hour, she questioned him relentlessly about his financial stability, his support system, his long-term plans for Lily's education, and his contingency arrangements should anything happen to him. Her questions were pointed and sometimes felt like traps, but Marcus answered honestly, refusing to pretend his situation was perfect. "The reality is," he said finally, "I don't have family to help. I don't have savings or a college fund started yet. What I have is a commitment to give Lily the most stable, loving home I can provide. I've arranged my entire life around her needs." Elise made a note without looking up. "Noble intentions don't pay bills or provide security, Mr. Bennett." "No, hard work does," he replied, a edge creeping into his voice. "And I've never been afraid of that." She looked up then, her expression unreadable. "It's time to pick up Lily. I'll follow you in my car." Lily's face lit up when she saw Marcus waiting outside her classroom. She ran to him, her backpack bouncing, and threw her arms around his legs. "Daddy! I drew a picture of us today." Marcus lifted her up, his heart swelling as it did every time she called him Daddy. "That's wonderful, sweetheart. I can't wait to see it." He set her down and knelt to her level. "Remember I told you about the special visitor today? This is Ms. Harrington. She's going to come home with us for a little while." Lily regarded Elise solemnly before offering a small wave. "Hello. Do you like macaroni and cheese? Daddy makes the best kind with the crunchy top." Something flickered across Elise's face, surprise, perhaps, or something deeper, before her professional mask returned. "Hello, Lily. It's very nice to meet you. And yes, I do like macaroni and cheese, though I haven't had the homemade kind in a very long time." Back at the apartment, Marcus set Lily up with her afternoon snack while Elise observed their interaction. He was acutely aware of her scrutiny but tried to maintain their normal routine. After snack time, Lily insisted on showing Elise her room, proudly pointing out her books and the special blanket that had belonged to her mother. "And this is my memory box," Lily explained, carefully opening a painted wooden box on her dresser. "It has special things from my first mommy who's in heaven now. Daddy says she watches over me like the stars at night." Inside the box were a few pieces of Sophia's jewelry, photographs, and a small bottle of her perfume that Marcus occasionally let Lily smell to maintain the connection to her mother. Elise knelt beside Lily, her voice gentler than it had been all afternoon. "Your daddy has done a wonderful job helping you remember your first mommy. He tells me stories about her every night," Lily said. "And sometimes he gets sad, but that's okay because it's okay to be sad when you miss somebody." Marcus, standing in the doorway, felt his throat tighten. Lily was repeating his own words back to her, words he'd spoken during their many conversations about grief and loss. Elise stood up, smoothing her skirt. "Lily, would you mind if I talk to your daddy alone for a few minutes?" "Okay. I need to feed Herbert anyway." Lily moved to the small terrarium on her bookshelf that housed Herbert, the leopard gecko that Marcus had reluctantly agreed to after Lily's persistent campaign for a pet. In the living room, Elise's professional demeanor returned. Mr. Bennett, I need to be direct with you. Single-parent adoptions face significant challenges, especially when financial resources are limited. Marcus felt his heart sink. Ms. Harrington. Please let me finish. Our agency has a responsibility to ensure that every child is placed in an environment that can provide not just emotional support but also financial stability and opportunities for growth. I understand that, Marcus said, struggling to keep his voice steady. But Lily isn't being placed anywhere. She's already home. She's been with me since the day she was born. Nevertheless, the legal process requires. The legal process, Marcus interrupted, his patience finally breaking, should recognize that family isn't just about blood or bank accounts. It's about who shows up every day. Who kisses scraped knees and checks for monsters under the bed. Who teaches right from wrong and makes sure there's always enough love, even when there isn't always enough money. He took a deep breath, trying to regain his composure. I'm sorry. I know you're just doing your job. But I need you to understand that Lily isn't a case file to me. She's my daughter in every way that matters. Without her, I lose everything. Elise studied him for a long moment, her expression softening almost imperceptibly. There's one condition I need to discuss with you before I can make my recommendation. Marcus braced himself. What condition? Dinner, she said unexpectedly. I'd like to observe your evening routine, including dinner and bedtime. It would provide a more complete picture of your home environment. Relief washed over him. It wasn't a rejection, at least not yet. Of course. We'd be happy to have you stay. Dinner preparation became a family affair, with Lily standing on her step stool to help mix the cheese sauce while Marcus prepared the pasta. To his surprise, Elise rolled up her sleeves and asked if she could help, accepting the task of chopping vegetables for the side salad. As they worked, the atmosphere gradually relaxed. Lily chattered about her day at preschool, and Marcus found himself sharing stories about their weekend traditions, Saturday morning pancakes and trips to the park, Sunday afternoon library visits. When they sat down to eat, Lily insisted that Elise try the macaroni and cheese first to see if she liked it. The CEO took a bite and closed her eyes briefly. This is delicious, she said, and for the first time that day, her smile seemed genuine. Throughout dinner, Marcus noticed subtle changes in Elise's behavior. She laughed at Lily's jokes and asked thoughtful questions about her interests. The clinical observer was still present, but alongside her emerged a warmer, more human presence. After dinner came Lily's bath time, then their nightly ritual of reading 2 stories before bed. Marcus was surprised when Lily asked Elise to read the second story, handing her a well-worn copy of Goodnight Moon. As Elise read, her voice took on a gentle cadence that Marcus hadn't heard before. When she finished, Lily yawned and said, "You read good stories. Do you have kids too?" A shadow passed over Elise's face. "No, I don't have any children of my own." "That's sad," Lily said with a child's directness. "Everyone should have someone to love them." Marcus quickly intervened. "Time for sleep, sweetheart. Say goodnight to Ms. Harrington." After tucking Lily in and turning on her night light, Marcus joined Elise in the living room, where she was standing by the window looking out at the city lights. "Thank you for staying," he said. "I know it's beyond what's typically required." She turned to face him. "Actually, it's not uncommon in our more complex cases." She paused, then added, "You have a beautiful family, Mr. Bennett." "Thank you. And please, it's Marcus." "Marcus." She seemed to be weighing her next words carefully. "I need to be honest with you. When I reviewed your case file, I had serious reservations. Single parents with limited resources face tremendous challenges." His heart sank, but he nodded. "I understand. But what I've seen today..." She hesitated. "The connection between you and Lily is undeniable. The environment you've created for her is nurturing and stable, despite the financial constraints. Hope flickered in his chest. Does that mean? It means I have a lot to consider before making my final recommendation. She gathered her portfolio and moved toward the door. I'll be in touch within the next few days. As she reached for the doorknob, she paused. There's one more thing I'd like to know. What would you do if you couldn't adopt Lily? If the court ruled against you? Marcus didn't hesitate. I'd fight. I'd appeal, get another job, do whatever it takes. There is no scenario where I give up on her. Elise nodded slowly. That's what I thought you'd say. Good night, Marcus. After she left, Marcus sank onto the couch, emotionally drained. He had no idea whether he'd passed or failed Elise Harrington's evaluation, but he'd been honest, and that would have to be enough. 3 days passed with no word from Harrington Family Services. Marcus tried to maintain their normal routine, but anxiety gnawed at him constantly. On the 4th day, as he was preparing to leave for his coffee shop shift, his phone rang with an unknown number. Mr. Bennett, this is Elise Harrington. I wonder if you might be available to meet this afternoon at my office. His stomach dropped. Office meetings usually meant bad news. Yes, of course. What time? 3 o'clock. And Mr. Bennett? Please come alone. We have some sensitive matters to discuss. The hours crawled by as Marcus worked his shift, his mind racing with possibilities, most of them bleak. By the time he arrived at the sleek downtown building that housed Harrington Family Services, his nerves were frayed. Elisa's assistant led him to a conference room rather than her office, which only increased his apprehension. When Elise entered, she was accompanied by a man in a suit whom she introduced as James Whitaker, the agency's legal counsel. Thank you for coming, Marcus, Elise said, taking a seat across from him. I've completed my evaluation and reached a decision regarding your adoption of Lily. Marcus gripped the arms of his chair, preparing himself for the worst. Before I share my recommendation, there's something I need to tell you. Elisa's professional facade seemed to slip slightly. Something personal that may help you understand my approach to your case. She folded her hands on the table. 15 years ago, I was in a position not entirely unlike yours. I was a single woman who wanted to adopt a child, my sister's daughter, after my sister and her husband died in an accident. Despite my financial stability and family connection, I was denied because the system favored traditional two-parent households. Marcus stared at her in surprise. This explained her reputation for being tough on single-parent adoptions. She had experienced the pain of rejection herself. What happened to your niece? He asked quietly. She was placed with a distant cousin of my brother-in-law. A proper family with a mother and father. Elisa's voice held a hint of old bitterness. They moved across the country. I was permitted to send birthday cards but little else. By the time the laws and attitudes began to change, she was a teenager who barely knew me. I'm sorry, Marcus said, genuinely moved by her story. I founded this agency to change the system from within, she continued. To ensure that family connections and genuine love were valued as highly as financial resources and traditional structures. She straightened in her chair. Which brings me to your case. Marcus held his breath. My recommendation to the court will be to approve your adoption of Lily without reservation. Relief flooded through him so intensely that for a moment he couldn't speak. Thank you, he finally managed. Thank you so much. There's more, she said, nodding to the lawyer, who slid a folder across the table. Harrington Family Services would like to offer you a position as a family support coordinator. Marcus opened the folder to find an employment contract. Marcus stared at the employment contract in disbelief. The position offered a salary nearly double his combined income from his 2 current jobs, along with benefits that included health insurance, paid time off, and a flexible schedule that would allow him to be home when Lily wasn't in school. I don't understand, he said, looking up at Elise. Why would you offer me this? Because you're exactly the kind of advocate our clients need, she replied. Someone who understands the challenges of single parenthood firsthand, who has navigated the system and knows its flaws. Your experience would be invaluable to families in similar situations. The lawyer, Mr. Whitaker, added, the position would also strengthen your adoption case considerably. Financial stability is a significant factor in the court's decision. Marcus's mind raced. It seemed too good to be true, a solution to his financial struggles and a chance to help others facing the same challenges he'd encountered. But doubt crept in. Is this charity? He asked hesitantly. Because I don't want special treatment just because you feel sorry for me. Elise's expression hardened slightly. Mr. Bennett, I don't make business decisions based on sympathy. This agency has been looking to expand our family support program for months. Your background in customer service, your first-hand experience with the adoption system, and the compassion I've observed in your interactions with Lily make you an ideal candidate. This is not charity, it's an opportunity that benefits both parties. Marcus studied her face, searching for any sign of deception or pity, but found only professional assessment and perhaps a hint of understanding. I'd need to give notice at my current jobs, he said slowly. And I'd want to make sure the hours would work with Lily's schedule. Of course, Elise nodded. We can discuss the details and timeline that works best for your situation. The position wouldn't start for 3 weeks, which should give you adequate time to transition. By the time Marcus left the Harrington Family Services building an hour later, his life had been transformed. Not only had he secured Elise's recommendation for the adoption, but he'd also accepted a job that would provide the stability and security he'd been struggling to achieve for years. As he walked to his car, his phone buzzed with a text from Mrs. Chen, their elderly neighbor who watched Lily after preschool on the days he worked. It was a photo of Lily proudly holding up a drawing of what appeared to be 3 stick figures, a tall one with short hair, a small one with pigtails, and a medium-sized one with long hair. The caption read, Lily says this is her family, you, her, and the nice lady who came to visit. Should I be concerned? Marcus smiled, typing back a quick response, no need for concern. Just a social worker who's helping with the adoption. But things are looking good. He slipped the phone back into his pocket, feeling lighter than he had in years. For the first time since Sophia's death, the future didn't loom as an endless struggle but held genuine promise. The following weeks passed in a whirlwind of activity. Marcus gave notice at both his jobs, completed the paperwork for his new position, and prepared for the final adoption hearing. Elise had been true to her word. Her recommendation to the court was unequivocal in its support of his petition to adopt Lily. The night before the hearing, Marcus sat on the edge of Lily's bed, watching her sleep. Tomorrow, if all went well, she would legally be his daughter. The thought filled him with equal parts joy and terror. Was he truly ready for this responsibility? Could he be the parent she deserved? As if sensing his doubts, Lily stirred and opened her eyes. Daddy? Is it morning yet? No, sweetheart, he whispered. Go back to sleep. She reached out and patted his hand. Are you worried about tomorrow? Miss Carla says it's a big day. Marcus smiled. A little bit. But it's a good kind of worried, like before Christmas. Don't be scared, Lily said sleepily. Ms. Elise will help us. She promised. When did she promise that? When you were washing dishes. She told me she was going to make sure we stayed together forever. Lily's eyes drifted closed again. I like her. She smells like vanilla. Marcus tucked the blanket around her, marveling at children's ability to form such quick, instinctive connections. He hadn't realized Elise had made such a promise to Lily, and the thought of it warmed him. Perhaps beneath that professional exterior was someone who truly understood what was at stake for them. The courtroom was less intimidating than Marcus had feared. The judge, an older woman with kind eyes and a no-nonsense manner, reviewed the file thoroughly before calling Elise to present her agency's recommendation. Elise stood, immaculate in another perfectly tailored suit, and addressed the court with confident authority. Your Honor, Harrington Family Services has conducted an extensive evaluation of Marcus Bennett's home, financial situation, and relationship with Lily. While Mr. Bennett's circumstances are not conventional, we have found him to be an exemplary caregiver who has created a stable, nurturing environment for his niece. She went on to detail the strengths she'd observed, the consistent routines, the emotional support, the efforts to maintain Lily's connection to her birth mother, and the recent improvement in financial stability with his new position. In my 15 years of child welfare work, she concluded, I have rarely seen such dedication and natural parenting ability. It is our strong recommendation that this adoption be approved without further delay, as it is unquestionably in the best interest of the child. The judge asked a few clarifying questions, then turned to Marcus. Mr. Bennett, do you understand that by adopting Lily, you are taking on all the rights and responsibilities of a parent, legally and morally, for the rest of your life? Marcus stood, his voice steady despite his racing heart. I do, Your Honor. In truth, I've felt those responsibilities since the day she was born. This just makes official what's already in my heart. The judge smiled slightly. Well said. She reviewed the papers before her one last time, then looked up. Having considered all the evidence and recommendations before this court, I find that the adoption of Lily Sophia Bennett by Marcus James Bennett is in the best interest of the child. The petition for adoption is hereby granted. She struck her gavel once, and just like that, it was done. Lily was legally his daughter. Marcus turned to where Lily sat with Mrs. Chen in the gallery. We did it, sweetheart. It's official now. Lily jumped up and ran to him, and he lifted her into his arms, holding her tightly as emotion overwhelmed him. Over her shoulder, he caught Elise's eye and mouthed a silent "thank you." She nodded once, her professional mask slipping just enough to reveal a genuine smile before she gathered her papers and headed for the door. 3 months later, Marcus had settled into his new role at Harrington Family Services. The work was challenging but deeply satisfying, allowing him to guide other families through the complex maze of adoption and foster care. His own experience made him particularly effective with single parents and non-traditional families who often felt marginalized by the system. He saw Elise regularly in staff meetings and occasionally in the break room, but their interactions remained largely professional. She was as demanding a boss as the rumors had suggested, but he'd come to respect her exacting standards and unwavering commitment to the children in their care. One evening, as he was preparing to leave for the day, his office phone rang. It was Elise's assistant, asking if he could stop by her office before heading out. Curious, he made his way to the executive floor. Elise was standing by the window when he entered, gazing out at the city as the setting sun cast long shadows between the buildings. She turned at the sound of the door. Marcus. Thank you for stopping by. She gestured to a chair. How are you and Lily adjusting? Very well, he replied, taking a seat. The regular hours have made a huge difference. I can actually help with her homework and make dinner without feeling like I'm racing against the clock. And your work here? Is it what you expected? It's more challenging, but also more rewarding than I anticipated, he said honestly. Every family has such different needs. It's not one size fits all. That's precisely why I wanted to talk to you. Elise sat down across from him. The board has approved funding for a new initiative, a support program specifically designed for single parents and non-traditional families navigating the adoption process. I'd like you to head it up. Marcus stared at her in surprise. Me? But I've only been here 3 months. And in that time, you've demonstrated exactly the insight and empathy this program needs. She slid a folder across the desk. It would mean a promotion, of course, and some additional responsibilities. But it would also give you the authority to implement the changes you've been suggesting in our team meetings. He opened the folder, scanning the proposal. It was ambitious, a comprehensive support system that addressed not just the legal aspects of adoption but also the practical and emotional challenges faced by families like his. This is incredible, he said finally. But why me? There are people here with years more experience and formal training. Elise was quiet for a moment, considering her words. Experience comes in many forms, Marcus. Your journey with Lily has given you insights that no amount of formal training can provide. She paused. And perhaps I see something of myself in you, the determination to change a system that doesn't always recognize the many different shapes a family can take. Marcus closed the folder. I'd be honored to take this on. Excellent. We can discuss the details next week. She stood, signaling the end of the meeting, but then hesitated. There is one more thing, of a more personal nature. Yes? Lily's birthday is coming up, isn't it? Next Saturday? Marcus nodded, surprised she remembered. She'll be 6. We're having a small party at the apartment, just a few friends from her class and some neighbors. I received an invitation in the mail yesterday, Elise said, a hint of uncertainty in her voice. Hand-drawn, with quite a lot of glitter. Marcus laughed. That sounds like Lily's work. I'm sorry if it was presumptuous. Not at all, Elise interrupted. I was touched. I just wanted to make sure it was legitimate before I responded. It's absolutely legitimate. Lily would be thrilled if you came. She still talks about you reading Goodnight Moon to her. Something softened in Elise's expression. Then I'll be there. Should I bring a gift? Your presence will be gift enough, Marcus said, then added with a smile, but she's currently obsessed with anything related to space or dinosaurs, preferably both together if such a thing exists. Space dinosaurs, Elise nodded seriously. I'll see what I can do. As Marcus left her office, he reflected on the strange path his life had taken. 3 months ago, he'd feared Elise Harrington would be the person who tore his family apart. Now, she was the one who had helped make it whole, and perhaps, in some small way, was becoming a part of it herself. Lily's birthday party was a cheerful chaos of excited 6-year-olds, balloon animals, and cake. Marcus had transformed their small apartment into a space-themed wonderland with stars hanging from the ceiling and a homemade rocket ship constructed from cardboard boxes in the corner. When the doorbell rang an hour into the party, he opened it to find Elise standing there, looking almost unrecognizable in jeans and a casual sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders. In her arms was an enormous gift wrapped in paper covered with dinosaurs wearing space helmets. I hope I'm not too late, she said, seeming uncharacteristically nervous. You're right on time, Marcus assured her, stepping back to let her in. We just finished the games and we're about to have cake. Lily spotted Elise from across the room and came running, her party hat askew. Ms. Elise. You came. Is that for me? She pointed at the large package. It is, Elise smiled, kneeling down to Lily's level. Happy birthday, Lily. The little girl threw her arms around Elise's neck in an impulsive hug that seemed to startle the CEO. After a moment's hesitation, Elise returned the embrace, her eyes meeting Marcus's over Lily's shoulder with a look of surprised pleasure. The party continued, with Elise gradually relaxing into the informal atmosphere. She helped serve cake, participated in the scavenger hunt, and watched with genuine delight as Lily opened her gift, a detailed model of the solar system with dinosaur figurines for each planet. As the other guests began to leave, Elise helped Marcus clean up, gathering discarded wrapping paper and wiping frosting from the table while Lily played with her new toys. Thank you for coming, Marcus said as they worked. It meant a lot to her. To both of us. Elise folded a paper tablecloth, her movements precise. I should be thanking you for including me. It's been a very long time since I attended a child's birthday party. There was something in her voice that made Marcus pause. Well, you're welcome anytime. Not just for special occasions. She looked up, studying his face as if searching for something. Are you inviting me to be part of your lives, Marcus? Because that could be complicated, given our professional relationship. I'm inviting you to be Lily's friend, he said carefully. And mine, if you'd like to be. The professional boundaries are important, but so are human connections. Elise was quiet for a moment, then said softly, when I was fighting to adopt my niece, I had no one in my corner. No one who understood what I was going through or how much it mattered to me. She glanced over at Lily, who was arranging her dinosaurs in a complex formation. I'm glad you didn't have to face that alone. I wasn't alone, Marcus said. Not in the end. Because of you. Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them, a recognition of shared purpose, of wounds that had shaped them both, of the unexpected ways lives could intersect and change course. The moment was broken when Lily called out, "Daddy! Ms. Elise! Come see my dinosaur space station." They moved to join her, kneeling on either side as she explained her elaborate creation. Watching Elise's genuine interest in Lily's imagination, Marcus felt a sense of completion he hadn't expected. Their little family of two had been enough, more than enough, but there was something right about Elise's presence that he couldn't quite define. Perhaps it was simply the recognition that families came in all forms, created not just by blood or law but by choice and circumstance, by shared struggles and unexpected connections. By people who understood that sometimes, the things we fear will break us are actually the things that make us whole. 1 year later, Marcus stood in the doorway of Lily's bedroom, watching as Elise finished reading their nightly story. Lily was fighting sleep, her eyelids drooping despite her determination to hear the end of the chapter. Just one more page, she pleaded, even as she snuggled deeper under her covers. Tomorrow, Elise promised, brushing Lily's hair back from her forehead. The story will still be here tomorrow. You promise you'll be here too? Lily asked, her voice already thick with approaching sleep. I promise, Elise said softly. Good night, sweetheart. Night, Mom, Lily murmured, the words slipping out naturally as she drifted off. Elise froze, her hand still resting on Lily's hair. It was the first time Lily had called her that, though she'd been a constant presence in their lives for months now, first as a friend who visited regularly, then as something more as her relationship with Marcus deepened. Marcus crossed the room quietly and placed his hand on Elise's shoulder. You okay? He whispered. She nodded, not trusting herself to speak as she carefully stood and followed him out of the room. In the hallway, she took a shaky breath. I didn't expect that. Are you uncomfortable with it? He asked gently. Because we can talk to her about it if you are. No, Elise said quickly. No, it's not that. It's just. She looked up at him, vulnerability clear in her eyes. I never thought I'd hear anyone call me that. After what happened with my niece, I gave up on the idea of being a mother. Marcus took her hand, leading her to the living room of what was now their shared home. They had moved 6 months ago to a house with a small yard, combining their lives with a care and deliberation that respected both their independent natures and their growing commitment to each other. Life has a way of surprising us, he said as they sat together on the couch. A few years ago, I never imagined being a father, let alone finding someone to share that journey with. Elise leaned against him, her usual composure softened in the privacy of their home. When I came to evaluate your home that day, I was so certain I knew what to expect. A struggling single parent, a precarious situation, another difficult decision to make. Elise leaned against him, her usual composure softened in the privacy of their home. When I came to evaluate your home that day, I was so certain I knew what to expect. A struggling single parent, a precarious situation, another difficult decision to make. She shook her head slightly. Instead, I found the family I didn't know I was looking for. Marcus wrapped his arm around her shoulders, drawing her closer. You know what Lily told me the other day? She said she was lucky because she had 3 parents who loved her, her first mom in heaven, me, and now you. Tears welled in Elise's eyes. She's an extraordinary child. She is, Marcus agreed. And she deserves an extraordinary family. He shifted slightly to face her. Which reminds me of something I've been wanting to ask you. From his pocket, he withdrew a small velvet box. Elise's eyes widened as he opened it to reveal a simple but elegant diamond ring. I had a whole speech planned, he said with a nervous laugh. About how you came into our lives to evaluate whether I was enough for Lily, and ended up becoming the piece we didn't know was missing. About how you've taught me that family isn't just who we're born to, but who we choose to love and fight for every day. He took her hand, his eyes never leaving hers. Elise Harrington, will you marry me? Not because Lily called you mom tonight, or because we need to fit some traditional mold, but because I love you and want to build the rest of our lives together. Elise looked at the ring, then at Marcus, her usual eloquence deserting her. Yes, she whispered finally. Yes, I will. As he slipped the ring onto her finger, she added with a hint of her professional precision, though we'll need to address the workplace policies, since technically you still report to me. Marcus laughed. Always the CEO. I'm sure we'll figure it out. He kissed her gently. We've overcome bigger obstacles. The wedding was a small affair, held in the garden of their home on a perfect spring day. Lily, serving as both flower girl and ring bearer, took her responsibilities with solemn pride, carefully walking down the makeshift aisle in her favorite yellow dress. Among the guests were colleagues from Harrington Family Services, Mrs. Chen and other neighbors who had supported Marcus through the difficult early years, and even Elise's niece, now a young woman of 23 who had reached out after seeing an interview where Elise spoke about her work with non-traditional families. Their vows were simple and heartfelt, acknowledging the unexpected path that had brought them together and the commitment they were making not just to each other but to Lily and to all the children whose lives they touched through their work. When I lost my sister, Marcus said, holding Elise's hands in his, I thought I was taking on the responsibility of raising her daughter alone. What I didn't realize was that in accepting that responsibility, I was opening the door to a fuller life than I ever imagined. You walked through that door, Elise, first as an intimidating evaluator, laughter rippled through the guests, then as a supporter, a friend, and finally as the love of my life. You've shown me that family isn't defined by convention but by love, commitment, and sometimes, by the courage to take a chance on someone who needs you. Elise, usually so composed, had to pause to steady her voice before responding. Marcus, I built my career around protecting children and supporting families, believing that was enough to heal the wounds of my own past. But it was you and Lily who taught me that helping others find their family isn't the same as having one of my own. You've given me the gift of belonging, of being needed not for what I can provide or approve, but simply for who I am. I promise to honor that gift every day, to love you both with all that I am, and to remember always that the most important evaluations in life aren't the ones we conduct professionally, but the ones we make with our hearts. As they exchanged rings, Lily insisted on being lifted up to witness the moment closely. Now we're officially a forever family, she declared with satisfaction. The celebrant smiled. I believe Lily has summarized the sentiment perfectly. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. The small gathering erupted in applause as Marcus and Elise sealed their vows with a kiss, and Lily wrapped her arms around both their legs in a three-person embrace that symbolized their unique journey. 5 years later, the Bennett Harrington household had expanded to include twin boys, now toddlers who kept their parents constantly on their toes. Lily, at 11, was a responsible big sister who took pride in helping with her brothers while pursuing her own interests in science and art. Harrington Family Services had grown as well, with the program for non-traditional families that Marcus had developed becoming a model adopted by agencies across the country. Elise remained CEO, but had restructured the organization to allow for more work-life balance, practicing the principles they advocated for the families they served. On a warm summer evening, as the twins finally succumbed to sleep after their bath time routine, Marcus found Elise and Lily sitting on the porch swing, looking through an old photo album. "What's the trip down memory lane?" he asked, joining them. "Mom was showing me pictures from when you first adopted me," Lily explained. "Before you guys got married." Ah, the early days, Marcus smiled, looking over their shoulders at a photograph of Lily's 6th birthday party, the first one Elise had attended. In the picture, the three of them were gathered around the cake, Lily beaming between them, Marcus and Elise looking at each other with what, in retrospect, was clearly the beginning of something significant. "I can't believe you were scared of Mom when you first met her," Lily said, nudging her father playfully. "Terrified is more accurate," Marcus admitted. "She held your future in her hands." "Our future," Elise corrected softly. "Though I didn't know it then." Lily turned the page to reveal the official adoption certificate, framed alongside a family portrait taken on that day. This was the most important day, wasn't it? When we became legally a family. Marcus and Elise exchanged a look over her head. "It was an important day," Elise agreed. "But I think we became a family long before any legal document said so. Families are made in the small moments, bedtime stories and breakfast conversations, supporting each other through hard times and celebrating the good ones. Like when you helped Dad get a better job so we could stay together," Lily said, showing she understood more than they realized. "That was part of it," Marcus nodded. "But it was also the way you welcomed Elise into our lives, and the way she chose to be there for us even when she didn't have to be." Lily considered this, then asked with the directness that still characterized her, "Do you think things happen for a reason? Like, was Mom supposed to be the one who came to evaluate us that day?" Elise smiled. "I don't know if it was fate or coincidence, but I do know that sometimes the things we fear most turn out to be the beginnings of our greatest joys." She reached for Marcus's hand. "Your dad once told me, without a child, I lose everything." He was talking about you, about how central you were to his life. "What he didn't know," she continued, "was that I felt the same way. My work with children was everything to me because I'd lost the chance to raise my niece. Meeting you both showed me that it's never too late to find your family, even if it looks nothing like what you expected." From inside the house came the faint sound of one of the twins stirring. Marcus stood. "I'll check on them. You two enjoy your history lesson." As he walked away, Lily leaned against Elise's shoulder. "I'm glad you were the one who came that day," she said simply. Elise wrapped her arm around her daughter, watching as the setting sun painted the sky in shades of pink and gold. "So am I, sweetheart. So am I." In the quiet of the evening, surrounded by the home and family they had built together, Elise reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From that first tense meeting in Marcus's small apartment to this moment of peaceful contentment, they had created something precious and enduring, a family defined not by convention or circumstance, but by choice, by commitment, and by love that had the courage to cross boundaries and heal old wounds. It wasn't the life she had planned, but as she had learned from Marcus and Lily, the most beautiful stories often begin with unexpected conditions and broken whispers of hope.